between DNL and Gamers 2. So what are we going to get here? Jace is going to be the first ban. I mean, that's been a huge pick from Perk all the way through the split.
I expect to see a lot of focus on mid lane here because Gamers 2, as a team in general, feel very much like the way Unicorns of Love and the team dynamic of TSM play out, is that you have a predominant carry in the middle lane. If they're not ahead, your solo laners will just about go even though SmittyJ is known as a player that should be able to carry. Hasn't always been able to do that in the game. So it's one of these weird dynamics where if mid doesn't get ahead, Gamers 2 tend to struggle. Yeah, and especially against a team like DNL, where Wicked is incredibly good in that solo lane. But we've actually gone through all the way through these bans. The team was very, very prepared with these. Irelia, Janet, and Elise from Gamers 2, while Twisted Fate and Fizz will round out the bans from Denial. And we had we do not have the first pick just yet, but they're thinking about the Victor. They're thinking about it. We've seen Denial pick it a lot. We've seen in Europe as well, in the LCS and in LCK, just Victor being the first pick. Irelia, of course, banned away from Wicked. A lot of focus on mid lane. Fizz is, I assume, away from SmittyJ as well, so very targeted bans out of Denial, whereas on the other side, of course, Elise being in the meta. We are on 5.14, so expect a lot of Elise bans here. Yeah, definitely a meta consideration with that Elise ban coming out. Waiting for Gamers 2 to see what they'll bring to the table. May just pick up their bottom lane, maybe not give anything too much away. It'll be interesting to see where Perks actually brings his champion picks now, with the Jace taken off the table. Does he go for another big carry? Does he go for another poker? So at this point, you basically, the pacing of champion select is that Gamers 2 are likely just going to wait for the counter pick on top lane. So they lock in their jungle and their AD carry, because those are two picks right now that, to be honest, yes, Kallista's open, yes, Civ is open, but Corki's not a particularly bad pick right now. What this basically does is gives Jesse a safe AD carry where you're not actually relying on too much more than just him kind of staying even, maybe getting a little bit ahead, getting that 20 force, and then you look to group. So I like what Gamers 2 are doing in that respect. However, Denial have pretty much all of the options they could have available. Kikis opting for the Rek'Sai means he's not looking for the junglers that we've actually seen him play in Challenger. We've seen Rengar, Elise, and Lee Sin. None of those seem to have taken his fancy in this game. No, so. Rengar, Lee Sin, back when we used to see carry even in spring, he was a big fan of, you know, the Lilies, the Elises. Rengar as well was a big pick from Kyrie, and he'll be bringing that one out today. And it was a big pick last week as well. Remember, it was yeah, against Senkux. He will probably still be having nightmares from those flash ganks. I think I counted about 5 of them to begin that game. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty, and if that happens again, that was, you know, Rengar against a fairly low mobility mid laner. So now the onus is on Gamers 2 maybe to swap things around, look for something that has a little bit more mobility on the map, something that Perks can pretty much hard carry on. Yeah, absolutely. It was the Orianna, actually, that Senkux picked in game 1, which did not go super well. He picked Xerath the following game, which did a little better. He was able to time out the Shocking Orbs. That's an Orianna. That is an Orianna. Also an Alistar. You know, there's a big similarity. I was talking about how Gamers 2 feel like Unicorns of Love. The Unicorns of Love strategy they picked in pretty much all 5 games was these exact picks. Yep. Corki for Vardags, Orianna for Power of Evil, you get a Rek'Sai in there for Horror. This is exactly the same kind of setup that we saw against Roccat. Yep. So, you know, I guess it kind of makes sense, is if you know your bot lane can go even, if you assume your top lane will go even, just look for a bit of a later scaler on the middle lane and hope you get ahead, and look to snowball perhaps with the Rek'Sai. I'm interested to see how that's going to go. Rek'Sai looking to snowball for the Orianna. Well, all we need now is a tank top laner as well, and we'll complete the whole formula for Unicorns of Love there in Games 2. There's plenty more tanks to choose from. Let's wait for the Shen to come out here. It'll be perfect. But Woodlight has picked up the Twisted Fate, the Tristana. Very different champion. Also, I wouldn't particularly like the Shen in this situation. It's against the Maokai, it's not exactly, you know, neither one's really going to win that lane. And also, Shen just, you know, kind of has a lot of his pressure neutralized as soon as Maokai turns up in the fight, and it's like, hey, try sticking on someone now. Difficult to teleport out of there as well. Arcane Smash. Exactly. Good look at that one, buddy. Lots of difficulties there. But Tristana Braum as a bottom lane is very difficult to 2v2 against, because there is a particularly nasty all-in with these two that I hope we'll get to see from Denial, where you stack up the Braum passive stacks, Tristana throws the bomb on, and if that happens level 2 as you're moving forward to last hit, good luck, because half your health is gone. So it's going to be all on hybrid to make sure that doesn't end up happening. And hello, SmittyJ is going back onto a very favored champion, not into the Rumble this time, but, you know, SmittyJ on that Riven, we've seen it before. We know it's one of his champions that he absolutely loves. So I'm looking forward to this now. This is not Unicorns of Love anymore.
This has changed the dynamic
completely.
That's good to see, though. Yeah, Smitty J was a big Aurelia main back in the day. We've even seen it throughout the split once, I think.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll see how this works out. Last time I believe it was against Rumble, which is a well-known counter pick, but it was lane swapped on, and then he just kind of roamed around the map. So we never saw him in that 1v1. We've also spoken about the possibility of lane swaps here, maybe even from Gamers 2. I believe they were the ones to initiate it last time, so we'll see what they do in game.
I believe so. That was actually against Kubon's Rumble, if I remember rightly. I guess when you compare Kubon and Wicked, I don't think this is going to be quite so straightforward.
No, they're both Aurelia players.
Yeah, they are both Aurelia players, which, you know, now Maokai is on the cards. Not an Aurelia in this game as it was banned, but certainly some interesting comps, a little bit departure from actual what we saw in the LCS when it comes to the meta for playoffs, but a lot of similar things as well. As I said, a lot of picks on the Gamers 2 side reminiscent of the second quarterfinals between Unicorns and Rocket.
Indeed, but we have to look at DNL's composition as well. The Victor picked on very early on into that picking phase, of course, great as an early pick. Will back on this Tristana, actually moved away from that last week, back on it this time, played that a ton in the regular season. And Hiva, by the way, is still on the team with DNL, so he'll be picking up the Braum this time around. It's
going to be quite difficult for Smitty J without a proper flank to actually get himself into these fights and onto a Victor, onto a Tristana in this. Could be a tough one. It's all on the execution. If Gamers 2 can look to get the setups, could work out in their favor.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to cast your vote and tweet at LoL eSports using those hashtags DNLWin or G2Win. We'll be seeing what you think in game as we progress through this one. Team Denial Esports up against Gamers 2. This is game 1 of a best of 3 in the third place match here to secure their spring promotion tournament slot.
And you can see Smitty J desperately wants to get himself into the LCS, picking, yeah, just give me Riven. Just give me Riven in this game.
Oh, Perks is the carrier of this team. No, I'm the carrier of this team.
I mean, that's the funny thing, because coming into this split, everybody was like, you know, Smitty J, he's one of the main carries for Gamers 2. He's going to do so much work. He didn't have a bad split by any stretch of the imagination, but certainly the carry games have all come from Perks, with the Azir, with the Jace. You know, those standout picks when a lot of the meta was poke. Outside of that, Gamers 2 kind of struggled. I'm now interested to see how Smitty J on a carry will perform. I think a lot of the focus here now, if this ends up in standard lanes from Kikis, goes to top lane. Get the Riven ahead, put the Maokai down, don't let them get gold onto the Maokai, and in theory, that's a fairly easy game to snowball from there.
Hey, it's the Bintu effect, right? Like, you go through the regular season, you play tanks, you do fairly well, you get into playoffs, you play carries, and then you carry. So we'll see if Smitty J can follow in the footsteps of Bintu, because he did super well last week when we watched him. But
yeah, and I think that's honestly something that we've noticed throughout Challenger this split, is it has been inherently difficult as a top laner to actually have a standout performance. I think outside of, you know, the opportunities we saw Bintu look for the Flash Galio ults, outside of those big plays, it's been very difficult in Challenger to actually assert yourself as a carry from the top lane.
It's funny though, because there's so much in terms of diversity in top lane picks nowadays. You've got the Riven, we even saw the Jarvan come out in LCS as Huni played it. There's so much variety, and there's so many chances to carry. We've even seen Yasuo as a Gnar counter in the top lane. So yeah, it's funny because the meta would even lend itself. But we're talking about lane swaps. There's a lane swap.
Yeah. So at this point, G2 all on the bottom side of the map, Denial all on the top side of the map. That was a very brief disconnect from Wicked. It's, we are running with a delay, so any kind of issues like that will be smoothed over and we just get to continue. So G2 will be heading down to the bottom lane. Denial up in the top lane. So this will put the pressure on Wicked that we were talking about. However, he is a Maokai. He is going around the jungle with Kyren. You can see hits level 2 as well. Smitty J will hit level 2 at the same time, and now it's just a case of teleporting to the respective lanes. But you can see the supports backing off as well, looking to head perhaps to assist their top laners in this one. And we end up with a weird 2v2 bot, well, a 2v1 bot and 2v1 top kind of crazy land here. Tops and supports all together.
Topsy-turvy. Who are we going to have? So it will be the Alistair going up there. Smitty J is actually still duo jungling with Kicker, so he's going to get some extra experience from that. May be able to hit that level 3 with the full clear. They actually took every single camp. And now Hybrid's going up there as well. Wicked will be in the bot lane with both Kyrie and Hiva. I believe Kyrie will probably just leave now. I mean, he was just holding it, so he'll probably go back to his jungle.
No,
yeah, the new
try
meta.
That would be horrible. But at this point, this is what we were talking about with if we do end up in this lane swap, now we can look to see if Hybrid roams early down to the mid lane, see if you can get Perks ahead. He is only on Orianna. Against a Victor, it'll be difficult. Woolite, headbutt comes out. After the, Pulverize after the headbutt means that Woolite is in no hurry to go anywhere. So, takes a bit of damage, as does Hybrid.
So SmittyJ is going to be farming this one. I'm not going to see the 1v1 matchup today. And he'll be farming up a Storm. We did actually have Jesse in the bot lane just constantly be farming. Well, I should be able to pick up most of these as Hybrid has gone back to base now. It looks like he'll be going into the bot lane to complete the duos. And Heaver's gone back again and is now heading up to the top lane. So now we have a more conventional lane swap after the lane swap.
More conventional after unconventional lane swap. I mean, I guess they were just waiting for to see where SmittyJ ended up, because you want to 2v1 the Riven, put her far behind, make sure she can't farm. As long as she stays in experience range, it's not the end of the world. Still difficult, but we've seen this out of SmittyJ before. Being able to keep him in experience while still falling a little bit far behind on farm. It didn't work out for Overclockers the last time this happened. So Gamers 2, if they can get this Riven into the game. Kikis looking mid. We said about the snowball potential. Doesn't get the knock-up. So can't help Perks out too much, but a little bit of lane pressure, but it's the information going over to Denial that really will tell the tale on that.
Yeah, the worst thing about that was Consecute didn't even burn any summoners, so there's very little pressure actually exerted in that middle lane. The different dynamic in this one, of course, as you already mentioned, is SmittyJ also being on a carry. Jesse, so far, as we've mentioned, haven't really seen him carry a game solo. He hasn't really needed to at the same time. They had this additional threat in the top lane with Smitty, so it looks like Kickers may be applying some pressure there as well and having dual threat, which will definitely change up the pacing of this game.
Yeah, so the danger on this kind of situation, not right now, because there's two under the tower. You don't really want to go under here, even with the minion stack. As soon as you get aggro, this is not a dive that you want to take. But if SmittyJ is in... Heaver's playing this real dangerous right now. He's just taking free damage. They do manage to trade some back on SmittyJ for now, but if SmittyJ stays in this lane on his own and steps forward, a flash auto out of Heaver, followed by a Q, and then 2 autos from Woolite, basically just kills SmittyJ.
Yeah.
Straight away.
Pretty much.
Just if you make one mistake here when you're not under tower, this is not a lane that SmittyJ is going to be able to sit in for very long.
Yeah, he has to be very careful with his health bar. If he drops low enough, then as you mentioned, he'll just burst him down. At the same time, if SmittyJ has enough health, it's dangerous diving a Riven with 2 forms of CC.
However, the experience battle is one that is being won out quite substantially by Wicked. He's had time on his own down in the bottom lane as the duo lane did move around. Wicked is actually just level 6. SmittyJ is still level 4. Did just use the teleport to get down to bottom lane to absorb a fair wave of experience, but certainly if they end up switching around in time, the pressure is going to be back onto SmittyJ.
Yeah, we'll see how much that wave was actually worth it, because as it worked out, Wicked was already teleporting back, and so were the top lane from DNL, so they were able to swap up, and they'll be reapplying the pressure in bot lane. With the duo lane and bot lane from DNL, also gives them dragon pressure on top of that, as Kyrie should go into the bottom half of the map soon. So we'll see how that one works out. SmittyJ, after taking that wave, is recalling once again, so let's just go ahead and play Musical Rift. Back into the top side.
But this is going to favor Wicked here, because not only is Wicked already level 6, SmittyJ now, his teammates just shoved a wave into the tower, so Wicked gets this whole wave of experience and gold. And then it's on Wicked. He has his teleport. They can look to create a play. He could use it just to go bottom lane if he really wants to. Yeah. It's now on how well does Wicked read SmittyJ's damage at this point, and how tanky is Wicked comparatively? Does he even want to sit in this lane? The answer so far has been no, and you can see he recalls at the same time. SmittyJ actually gets the lane set in the middle. Ooh, Kick is actually forced to flash, as Kyrie and CosQ did roam up from mid lane, find him in the river, and Kikis has been not able to get much impact at all. He comes out over the mid lane, doesn't even get a flash. You know, the side of that Kyrie up until now is in a very similar situation, but a lot of it is because of the way these lanes swapping around has just been all about putting SmittyJ down, and then Perks, has been shoving in Kozcu for the entire time and is up as well. So Kikis has almost no options on where to go on the map.
Yeah, but likewise, not really likewise, but Kairi is always... Oh, this was close. One more auto attack probably would have finished off Kairi there. But yeah, with that first ultimate, he was able to get something. Kairi is very good at finding summoners or kills or just something from every single ult that he uses. This first one didn't result in a kill, but a flash on a jungle, especially on Kickers as he's trying to snowball either solo laners is actually a pretty big deal. Top tower is dropping very low on the side of Gamers too. Smitty J probably will not risk staying around. Yeah, he's going to back off to this turret and just allow Woolite to take it. Bottom side of the map is actually very low as well, but the minion wave is dissipating, so that will survive for another wave, if not two. And then Wicked should be okay under this tower. Kairi is actually waiting in the wings as well. His ultimate is not up, but he does have his flash.
So far, this game has been so much about keeping Wicked safe throughout the early game, and there's been no real way for Gamers 2 to pressure in this situation. Denial now show Kairi in the bottom lane as well. I mean, what this will allow, or would have allowed Gamers 2 to do was look for a play top lane, but you can already see Denial have backed away. They're already coming to the bottom lane, so there's no real play to be made once again out on the map by Gamers 2, and we were expecting a lane swap potentially to have gone in Gamers 2's favor because they could put Wicked behind. They haven't done so because they've been so desperately trying to get Smitty J ahead that it's almost impossible.
Yeah, and as a result, it looks like the first dragon will just be conceded by Gamers 2, allowing that over to Denial. Should not be contested here. Kikis was just taking the time to farm through the jungle of Kairi. But as you mentioned, as it is right now, there's not much that Smitty J can do, even if he is landed in a one-on-one up against Wicked, because he's past that zone where he can just easily take one-on-one, and Wicked has 2 armor items. So I'm just wondering where Smitty J is going to find his time in this game.
So the time for Smitty J is going to be the point at which they start to group on the Corki. If you can get that flank play off, Smitty J hasn't fallen particularly far behind. He hasn't been camped. He hasn't died and has basically nothing. So once he does manage to get an item under his belt, he's set on about 1,000 gold right now. If they can get a flank play off and catch Denial kind of sleeping and unawares, it's possible. That's where he picks up a couple of kills. It's going to be tough, though, because you're against a Tristana, you're against a Victor. They have a Braum for disengage as well, with a Maokai in tow. So even in those early fights, it is going to be a little tough to actually lock somebody down.
Yeah, he's going to have to try and find the sickest flank of all time where he can land like a Broken Wings or a Key Burst onto multiple targets and lock them all up at the same time.
As long as they combo with the Shockwave. Like, that is the big factor here. Ooh, Kairi out of the bush.
Oh, Hybrid does have his ultimate here. He's going to be popping it now. Headbutts the Warlight away. Kairi backing off real quick back to these minions, and Jesse turns around for some more damage onto Hiva. It's not going to result in the kill, but does burn the ultimate from Alistar. And Kairi doesn't use his ultimate either. So in terms of resources burnt from Denial, not a whole lot.
So infuriating to gank a lane with an Alistar in it.
Yep.
This is like, hey, we've got the damage here. Oh, you've got ult? Okay, fine. I guess I'll try this again. Yep. I mean, didn't get any summoners on that gank, showed himself, and that allows Kikis to head to the top lane. Wicked is going to be able to W out, actually. Kikis just gave him an escape route. A very easy escape route from that.
Yeah, what Kikis was wanting from that was to allow Wicked to jump on top of him, then knock him up, and maybe have enough damage to CC chain him.
The route, though.
It didn't. That didn't happen.
But the one thing you can see, now that they're bringing Kikis up for focus, now that they're in the 1 versus 1, Smitty J is caught up on farm and is starting to put the pressure onto Wicked here in this top lane. This is the ideal situation for Gamers too, and you know, we talked about that Alistar ult. It is no longer available, and Kairi does have his ult, didn't use it last time, so this could be the repeat gank to set up, but good read by Hybrid, but did he step too far forward for it?
Oh, he doesn't have the ultimate this time. There is a teleport coming in, but Hybrid's dropping very low. That will be first blood going over to Warlight, but he's looking for more. Is this too bloodthirsty? Buster shots Jesse away, and the teleport does not complete in from Denial. Didn't even need it, so that is first blood going over to DNL.
It was the good read from Hybrid, knowing that the gank was there, but that's a problem, is if you step too far forward, that Rengar is just going to jump out of the bush and hit you with the bowler, and make sure you can't get away. Kikis was spotted on wards. This gives Denial a lot of freedom here to shove up into the jungle. Kikis has found Wicked, but Smitty J is a long way away, and I think Wicked is fairly content to just put some damage down and back away. But again, just tying up Kikis' time and making sure that the rest of his team can secure stuff on the rest of the map.
Yeah, I mean, really, what can... you okay, buddy? Warlight jumps on top of him, actually gets pulverized, headbutted into the wall. Jesse will return with the damage. Aggressive Valkyrie forwards into the exhaust, and now there comes the cat from the sidelines. Picks up the first kill. Warlight will jump away, but Smitty J is coming into this fight. He gets one, he's looking for another. He doesn't have his ultimate, though. He'll have to try and retreat for the cooldowns. Dodges the bowler, but now the rest of the team is closing in. Kozq from the mid lane. Kickers and Perks are in tow. The flash over the wall, but a follow flash from Perks. Kickers will find him, and Perks comes in with the kill. Smitty J now on the chase onto Carry, and Heaver was able to turn around that trade. This time he has the ultimate, looking for the broken wings. Doesn't get the hop over the tower, but does land the ultimate. In comes the Prey Seeker from Kickers, and the follow-up with the auto-attack damage. Is it going to be enough? He gets the knock onto Heaver into the shockwave from Perks, and Heaver is dropping so incredibly low, and they finally get him down with the last Prey Seeker in from Kickers.
Very, very extended team fight that all stems from the fact that Wicked didn't have teleport and Smitty J did. Hybrid goes aggressive in the bottom lane. It baits Jesse to Valkyrie forward, and he dies with his flash still up. Ultimately, it's going to end with the turret going down in favor of Gamers 2 as well, and they can secure vision control ahead of the Dragon. So the play is overall in the favor of Gamers 2 there, and it's all from that cancel teleport.
That was actually a big deal in the end. Jesse and Hybrid in the middle lane should be able to finish off this turret. There we go. One more auto attack. The turrets are now even, as is pretty much the gold. The only advantage that DNL have currently is that initial dragon. Actually going to see the very start of all of that chaos once again.
Watch for the Valkyrie forward out of Jesse, because he thinks he can get the kill here. If it weren't for the exhaust, I believe, that comes down here, he gets the kill on Warlight. 100% in that situation. Then, you know, G2 didn't really read that, end up trading badly at this point, but already coming from the river, you can see Kikis. Kozq was on his way down as well, but he gets caught out 2 versus 1, and that's an easy pickoff. You can see Wicked up in the top lane, heading up just for the CS. He actually continues to just kind of try and freeze this lane for a little while longer as well. He was just farming up there for so long. At this point, it was pretty much a foregone conclusion that Kikis was going to look for these kills, and with Perks not even having used his shockwave for that engagement, it was an easy setup to close that out.
Yeah, it was actually really well played by Gamers 2 in the end. Actually, nice sidestep in the middle of that from Warlight. Not only was it the exhaust, but he also sidestepped out of the big rocket that came in from Jesse. But yeah, the exhaust was the main thing in that one. And Gamers 2, now everyone is rotating into this top side of the map, and this push should be enough to take up the top turret, which will put them ahead. But in the middle lane, they have left the middle turret exposed. I don't know if Perks is going to be able to clear the wave by himself. I mean, there's not a wave there, so this might actually work for Gamers 2 here if they rotate fast enough to mid lane.
He has his ultimate as well, so they do have to respect that if they push up to the turret. It is 2 melee and a Victor here, but it doesn't look like Perks really wants to hold on to this. He will edge the ball back out and look to clear it. So they will hold on for now. That's the real tricky thing about having two melee champions and an AP champion is you're not exactly going to push that particularly fast at that point. But Dragon has come up, a couple of wards in behind Denial, but the teleport this time is available for Wicked. If Smitty J shows himself anywhere near the inner turrets that remain in the side lanes, this may very well just result in Denial going for the Dragon, but that is not the case. They've gone on to Perks.
He will cleanse out of it. There comes the Glacial Fisher from Heaver. And they will just disengage. Yeah, they're going to just trade the Dragon for the mid tower, it looks like, or maybe just try and jump back onto Gamers 2 as they start it. Perks and Jesse are exposed. Hybrid has the ball on top of him. Wicked looking to get into that backline. Shockwave used on one member. It will be Kyrie. He's trying to get out of the fight, has been exhausted. And Broken Wings comes across along with the Wind Slash. Now even is trying to disengage from Gamers 2. There's a big laser coming down onto both Smitty and his friend. Smitty J is being chased down by the Chaos Storm, and Kozq should be able to finish him off here as he's juking away from his base. Perks as well is trying to get away from the team of Denial, and it's just all the roaches have been scattered and just trying to chase them down now. Question of who this is going to go to. It's mine. Kyrie takes it. Wicked trying to get this kill. Jesse from the side, actually not enough. There was not another damage threat with him because they both tried to go for that bottom kill.
Well, Denial can look for the Dragon in a matter of seconds. They're going to go for mid tower first by the looks of it. That fight was a bit of a weird one because it highlights the difficulties that Gamers 2 are going to have for the rest of this game without a big team fight winning Shockwave landing. Is Gamers 2 just couldn't get Smitty J into the backline to deal damage because of the Maokai. He's just stood right in front in a head-on in a head-on collision at that point, DNL, in theory, are going to be able to win, even though that was the Triforce spike that just came out for Gamers 2. They grouped on the Triforce spike, which is, you know, what you want to do with this Corki. This is the kind of time that you want to fight, but look, they're a little bit split decision-making. Kikis finally decides to go in, and although there is damage down onto Kyrie here, look, the Smitty J just gets almost no damage right there. Nobody had taken damage, so you don't get that amplified damage coming from the Riven ultimate, and from there, DNL are basically 100% health and can just chase them out.
Windslash, by the way, didn't hit anyone because he used it so far back behind his team because he had to Broken Wings away that he ulted, and then it just hit no one. And then at the very end there, you saw DNL just being able to chase down Smitty, but they weren't able to get perks, so didn't get as much as they possibly could away from that. But with the second Dragon and the one team fight, DNL are not going to be too unhappy. They also take the blue buff on top of that. And it's interesting because I was about to praise Gamers 2 for that good map play. They went top lane, took the tower, defended the mid turret, and moved down to get the vision for the Dragon and challenge for the Dragon. Started it, looked like they were going to trade for mid lane, and then it was a poorly executed team fight. So in terms of shot calling, which is what we were criticizing Gamers 2 for last week, in comparison to the week 5 play with Kikis, not bad, but in-fight mechanics, not quite there.
Yeah, it's a composition problem when you look at it. I mean, I
agree.
When you look at what Unicorns did with this setup, they were using Visichachi to split push on Na. That was in games 3 and 5, and the key difference between that is that
he's a tank.
Even though, okay, Chachi did end up building some damage components as well, as you'd expect, the flank play is so much easier with a Na. I mean, it's easier in different ways and harder because you do have the ability to go to Mega Na. You do have that massive crowd control, and you can kind of stay alive in the middle of the fight. Yes, you got to balance the Mega Na meter, but honestly, Riven right now, yes, she's going to be able to split push. Yes, she'll deal a lot of damage. She's also going to die very quickly. And if Smitty J doesn't get the flank, then there's almost no point in coming to a fight, because it's not like you're going to be able to offer that massive amount of long-term crowd control. Yes, you can stun a couple of people if you hit it, but that's a very short range, unlike the Mega Na ultimate. So it's a tricky one. Gamers 2 have picked themselves into a corner in this game. We'll see if they can work their way out of it.
I think that's the biggest thing to take away from that. Can they get out of that corner? Because they have the tools to do so.
Right.
Riven can work.
Yes.
And if you get those flanks, it can be devastating. Remember back in the game that Huni played. He jumped over the wall, landed the key burst onto 3 players, and obliterated everybody.
Oh, for sure.
So if you can land that, perfect. But it's so difficult to do that. And last team fight as well, Smitty J did not have his flash. And if you don't have your flash as Riven, then how are you ever going to get to the backline if you're going in for that head-on engagement? Right.
I mean, you've only then got to look at the tools for DNL, is if they can predict the Riven coming in, if they have the wards on the flanks, then it becomes very easy. You've got Tristana, you can Buster Shot them away. Braum is going to disengage with his ultimate. Victor can zone control. Maokai can control as well. There's so many areas that if you can at least predict the Riven coming, how does anyone ever get into the backline? I mean, okay, Kikis can do it, but using Rek'Sai as primary engage, hybrid.
Yeah, he ulted a little too late there. I don't think he expected the damage to come out. Kyrie has found Kikis as well, maybe caught out, has to flash away. Big ultimate in from Perks, but it's not really enough here. Kyrie, Jesse was hoping that was going to be a crit. To take in the mid lane, Smitty J is pushing in the top.
They can clear this, though.
Should be able to clear this, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, as you said, Hybrid ulted a little bit late. That would have been a different situation had he ulted earlier, perhaps. And Kikis going in. Has he got his team beside him? Yes, he does.
Yeah, but he got exhausted there when he's into the gravity field. He should be taken out here, especially as Woolite jumps over the wall looking for the reset. Buster Shot onto Jesse. Last crit comes through, but heals just in time. Is not going to be able to save Perks, however, or is it? He flashes over the wall, but he's going to be flashed on as well by Kyrie and Woolite to follow him, and burns 2 flashes on the escape.
It is actually quite surprising how close Gamers 2 are playing with their team dynamic to what the Unicorns were doing. They're picking fights, even though this should be their time to fight, they're picking fights while behind, and they're not able to take them. They're running a similar situation or team composition where they're looking to engage with difficult setup. And I mean, DNL are just reading this very easily. They're reading the ganks coming because Kikis is just crossing wards, not really doing his due diligence of looking for the setups of fights safely. And G2 just, again, even though it's their time to fight, they just are really struggling because of how far ahead DNL have got so far. Woolite right now, 4-1-4. We said that Jesse was going to be a safe laner, even if he gets himself in the 2v2. They were in the 2v1, and Jesse has fallen so far behind right now.
He's fallen very behind in the team, and this is essentially what we've seen from Jesse all split long. We've seen no real change here. That is to be expected. The big change in this game was Smitty J going for that Riven. Remember, by the way, that was the last pick, and all of the disengage tools and the ways to deal with the Riven were already picked up from DNL. So Games 2 knew what they were in for when they picked up the Riven.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay, it's not working right now, but they must have some master plan, right, Stress?
Well, this is a best of 3. So maybe some adaptations in the next pick and ban phase should this one not go their way. But honestly, right now, this is still an open game. Victor, they're both going to have a lot of late game damage, so you have to deal with that. The real way of dealing with it is a shockwave landing on them. It's a tough ask, but certainly not impossible.
No.
I'm surprised at how far behind Gamers 2 ended up from that lane swap. Because they tried to get Smitty J through this early game safely, it meant they had to swap around a lot with their bot lane. And it resulted in a heavy deficit for Gamers 2. Jesse just hasn't really been able to pick up too much farm in the last 10 to 15 minutes either. I mean, I looked at his stats. On average, he ends up about 20 to 25 CS up at the 20-minute mark.
Yeah.
In this game, he was about 30 down. So it's a big swing from what we're used to from Jesse, but certainly he is still not out of the woods yet when it comes to his power. But I don't think G2 are going to be able to win this game by grouping on DNL anymore. They're going to have to try and get Smitty J into the side lane a little bit more safely, try and get the split push going for themselves.
Well, there's the ultimate from Kyra. He finds Kickers this time around. There's no real disengage to help him out. Here comes the Glacial Fisher inside the choke point as well. Into the big Victor ultimate. That's a shockwave landing onto 2, but it's not quite enough damage. Perks will be going down, but Kyra in return. Hybrid has his ultimate on, but Kozky's there to meet him. Smitty J is trying to get out of this fight with that great mobility on Riven. It should be enough, or maybe not. Wicked's got the flash and the lockdown, and Woolite's got the damage.
Hey, Woolite has a lot of damage right now. You cannot go up against this Tristana. 5-1-6 is his stat line at this point. That is way ahead of where he should be right now. And honestly, DNL, I feel like this is going to be a very comfortable game from them from right now. And this is a bit of a surprise when you look at what Gamers 2 were doing back in week 5. But it's very similar to what they were doing last week against Mouse, where, you know, they seem to have no direction here. Kigis tries to come in to contest a dragon that, realistically, he's not going to be able to. The wards are already out behind him. Going through a warded area to kick this fight off is not going to be you know, a positive outcome for Gamers 2 in any stretch of the imagination. And then they get brawl-malted inside a choke on that catwalk. It's an easy fight for DNL to pick up. Woolite's just got to sit at the back.
I do wonder how much of this game is denial and how much of it is Gamers 2 taking that unicorn's mentality and just running into fights that they can't take, you know? Because DNL have capitalized fantastically on the mistakes of Gamers 2, but they've always been delivered on a silver platter where it's just like, okay, you're in a choke point, I'm going to brawl molt, and you're all going to get hit by it, and then we're just going to combo you. So in future games, if Gamers 2 do make an adaptation, again, like we saw in that best of 5 in the LCS, then maybe they'll be in a better shape. But we need to see that adaptation fast, because that was a best of 5, this is a best of 3.
Hybrid right now is really feeling the heat in this game. 0-5-2, hasn't been able to complete an item yet. Is looking for that Righteous Glory. They are going to look to capitalize on the momentum. This time though, G2 are looking to split push down bottom lane and mid. They've got a 4-man stack up against their inhibitor, and they're running out of minions, but they will be able to get this mid tower by the looks of it. They've lost an inhib tower though. I don't
think this is worth it at all. DNL are just maybe going to take a Nexus turret from this as well. Someone's going to have to recall. Only now are Gamers 2 recalling in the middle lane. Smitty J's in the bot lane, but Jesse just got blown up. That's a Nexus turret falling. Are we going to find a second one? Now in comes the teleport, but it may not even complete in time. He actually gets in and is able to get the combo through. That's the win slash. Heaver as well will be backing off. Wicked now comes into the fight. Teleports to a minion. Smitty J has the backup, but he's already used his kill combo. And there's the ultimate in from Wicked. He's going to jump back onto Hybrid. Now in comes comes Smitty J. He gets one. He's looking for another. Jumps onto Woolite. Takes him down. Kozky's trying to run away, but there's still towers there. You're in the middle of their base. Perks is chasing down Wicked as Wicked is trying to kill the Nexus. Unfortunately, he's Maokai. And that's a 5-for-2 over to Gamers 2. An overextension of the end by Denial, but they just took 2 Nexus turrets at 27 minutes.
The overall trade there is mid tower, bottom tower, for inhib tower, inhib 2 Nexus towers. That's, I mean, Denial have put themselves in a situation where Gamers 2 cannot afford to put Smitty J in a solo lane and split push. I mean, that really is kind of the be-all end-all, because Denial just walk in through the front door and take down the Nexus. You can see that they are on Baron right now, and this was the resulting fight. Easy cleanup for Gamers 2 at that point. But the point still stands. I mean, once this Baron buff expires, it becomes very difficult for Gamers 2 to play the rest of this game.
Right now, it feels like Gamers 2 are all on this Baron. Like, they just lost 2 Nexus turrets. Their Nexus is exposed. There's a Warden there as well, which doesn't have his teleport, though.
I mean, also, Wicked's not exactly the fastest backdoor.
Well, you say that,
It's kind of reminiscent of the Shen backdoor from, was it the CBLOL finals?
God, Lenny.
That took, like... Oh, no, I mean the one that happened just this past weekend. I think it was CBLOL finals, perhaps. As,
oh, yeah.
Quickshot showed me it. Just the world's slowest backdoor ever, but... It'll be like that. Just the trees aren't exactly that mobile when it comes to...
The Wolves game was just as bad, with Lenny slowly taking every
this was
base
slower.
structure.
This was way slower. This was like a no-minion Shen, where one team was just kind of pushing in through the front door. I don't think we're going to end up in that kind of situation. Kickers goes deep, going in right behind. This could be the flank setup, but look how many wards he has to spot. Exactly. This is the difficulty here, because now Denial just turned, and you just pressure Kikis away from this fight. You say, okay, if you go in, we're already ready for this. And Smitty J is caught.
He is caught, but the rest of the team is there as well. They blow up Kyrie. That's a major damage threat already down. Smitty J gonna move on to Heaver. Now has an insane amount of CZ when he's chasing down a target. Trying to get enraged now of his next one. Kikis is trying to lead the charge, taking a point, but doesn't have a flash to get on top of them. That's a 2-0 there in the jungle. But remember, they're still bleeding in the top lane.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting one, because Gamers 2 were looking to start the fight, so Denial could have just sat back at that point.
Yep.
You don't actually have to go for that fight. All you're trying to do is wait for the Baron to expire, because you've still got the pressure from top lane being open. Okay, the inhib is going to come up within a couple of minutes' time. But as long as you force Gamers 2 to at least keep one person in base, you can never split push. You can't really utilize the Baron buff all that well. And Dragon was coming up in about a minute and a half, so they could have set up vision control, cleared out the jungle, looked for one of the towers. I mean, yes, Gamers 2 were forcing the fight so they couldn't look for the towers, but Denial is still stronger in the 5 versus 5. There's no reason to go in when you're not quite all together.
But that's kind of what we were talking about before, right? Like, where Gamers 2 are just running into Denial in fights that they can't win, and Denial are just letting them. But Denial aren't really thinking about what they're doing. They're just letting Gamers 2 do that. Now, they're still not thinking about what they're doing, and then still taking fights. And in this case, they're just like, oh, well, we're stronger now. And
Whoa.
Jesse, if he was blown up there, would not have been very good at all, but just managed to get away. Chaos Storm is down. But the bottom line is, Denial aren't really thinking too hard about the decisions this game, it doesn't feel like.
Right. I mean, both, like, looking at it down the board, both mid laners are really strong right now. So these fights kind of are on the shockwave from Perks, who has put the ball onto Rengar by the looks, or not onto Rengar, but in they go.
Righteous Glory, that's a big shockwave onto 3 players. They're going to nuke down Kozky and Wicked as well. Heaver's dropping low. He should be falling. Kickers is right on top of him, but they take down Woolite in the background. That's a 4-0. Kyrie is the only one remaining. That was a big team fight for Gamers 2. Where did this come from?
30 seconds left on the clock with minions pushing through the mid lane. They might be able to end with a Riven here.
Maybe. I mean, Kyrie's recall just got interrupted because he chose to recall in the middle lane. Now he has to go back to base, and Gamers 2 are chunking through these towers. Are they actually able to just take this game?
Their inhibs up as well. This Gamers 2 can look to push this through. I mean, nobody up for another couple of seconds here, and they'll be able to just blow up whoever steps in front of them.
This is going to be close either way. Kyrie has to jump into the back lines to just try and stall them, but Gamers 2 are just going to ignore him. Or maybe not. Perks wants him dead. That's going to be the first Nexus turret falling, but everyone from DNL are coming back up. Wicked's going to be dropping low. Heaver trying to defend his turret with his life. Smitty J just gets CC'd up by the gravity field. Perks as well takes some damage. Kickers jumps in. He finds Coscu. They're looking for this kill. He jumps away, lands the Chaos Storm. That's a shockwave only onto Heaver. Smitty J gets blasted into the turret. Warlight's dropping low. Wicked's trying to tank for him, but Smitty J's got the right idea. He's onto the Nexus turret. Kickers is there with him as well. Warlight. So are all the carries. Can Warlight go huge here and take everyone down? He gets the static shift. Kicker's looking for the knockup. Hybrid's on this Nexus.
Ooh.
Warlight gets chunked by the Orianna. He's actually going to go down. Wicked is there with Kyrie. He's back from the dead. He gets one, looking for a second, but he's just going to get kited away. Jesse with the shield. He still stays alive. And Wicked, he's trying this defense. But after that incredible game from Denial, Gamers 2 turn it around with the Nexus exposed. They take it. Game 1 of this best of 3 goes to Gamers 2.
What just happened at the end of this game? Gamers 2, I mean, Denial just ran at them for like the last 3 minutes of this game. They could take both Nexus turrets down, then try and force the Nexus. Then, I mean, they couldn't stop the Baron going over. And then they take a fight in the lower jungle. They take a fight then around mid lane, and then one by one try and run in and be like, okay, we can stop them from pushing this. We can stop.
But that's what I mean, Stress. I don't think through that entire game, Denial were thinking about what they were doing. I think that Gamers 2 were running into them and Denial was saying, okay, we're going to fight you. And those fights worked out. We saw that later that game went on. The same thing happened, and they were like, yeah, we're going to just fight you. Oh, we lost.
Certainly, Denial had a great early game plan.
Oh yeah,
for the Riven. Like everything about the early game worked out for Denial, and honestly, even the trade where they got Inhib Tower, Inhib 2 Nexus turrets, like that is a fantastic trade for like one turret and a bottom lane. But the problem was they overstay.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like they were just in a hurry to end the game. And for the rest of the game, it looked like they were in a hurry to end the game. Let's just get a pick, get into game 2, put this one in the books. Didn't work, though. Gamers 2, they still had the Orianna, they still had the Corki, who had a lot of damage, and the Riven. Riven did pick up a lot of kills towards the end of that game.
But I challenged that, because we saw Gamers 2 overcommit on other towers on the map, and what DNL did was made the logical choice that was in front of them. And then they just went through all the way to completion. They didn't think of a plan B. They just went for the counterplay. And that's what we saw all the way through that game. And okay, I mean, it looked great because they took the Nexus towers, but then Gamers 2 were able to capitalize off that. Yeah,
I mean, the Baron was the biggest problem, to be honest, a very big problem. And, there were a couple of problems, just and a lot of fights that were very messy in this game, and we want to take a look at one of them when it comes to a very long replay. I believe this actually is the inhibitor trade for the top side. So at this point, I mean, Denial, they're already going to come out ahead from this trade at this point. When the inhibitor goes down, I would trade this in so many situations because Smitty J, you've now forced somebody to sit in that lane. This is going from good to even better for Denial. At this point, they feel like they can close. They've committed to closing here, and this teleport actually completing is such a big factor because Smitty J is able to get on for the stun and get the rest of the damage down. From here, Denial can just back away. They can absolutely just back away from this fight, but they feel like they can take it. They stack for the Riven.
No plan B.
And yeah, no plan B in this situation. And I mean, again, Wicked's like, I can end this, guys. It's a Nexus on full health. I'm Maokai. Got it. Haven't got it.
Haven't got it. And this is honestly where the entire game flipped on its head.
Right.
Big Orianna ultimate.
Big Orianna ultimate. As we said, if somehow they can get the Orianna ult into these fights, into the flanks, that is going to be how they'll win this game for Gamers 2, and they've managed to get it at the end because Denial just kind of stacked. And that was the second big stack in a row. One for the Riven, one for the Orianna. If you make team fights that easy for a team like Gamers 2, for a player like Perks or Smitty J, they're going to capitalize on that.
Right, and talking about Perks in particular, we're talking about him before the game and how he was really the carry of the team. We had Smitty J, of course, in this game as well, but particularly him on Orianna and against the Rengar as well. Pulled out performance 8-1 and 11 on that champion. Just played super well, honestly. We saw him get that slice advantage in the mid lane and just played super well for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I mean, difficult on Orianna to get a shockwave like that without your opponents kind of messing up. I just felt like it was almost a bit of a gift given over. Just those last couple of fights. I'm honestly quite surprised at how impatient DNL were at closing that game out.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting one, but with that, Gamers 2 took that first game. So, can DNL climb back into Game 2? We're about to find out after this short break.